too ridiculous.
Right. And they don't know, was that a toy or not?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, they mentioned it at the meeting
Let us know when you're ready.
about his wife being involved in the building.
That was,
Huh? Oh, Field Street. Sorry.
You don't want to do
You're right, I forgot.
It's simple. You don't want to do the town's asking you to listen.
And no,
they're sitting there for 2 years
Nice day.
listening to this. How is that?
This kid,
Not really.
Matt, I'll grab those from you tomorrow and make copies. Yeah, I don't know what's in.
hey,
Papers, August 15th, it appears that it was referred
Yeah.
to the county. I just didn't see anything.
is that possible?
Yes. Nobody showing tonight?
I was thinking that too.
Where's everybody else?
it is,
I've spoken to Ken 3 times, so yes, he is clear he's here tonight. And Mike Metzger talked to me too also, and also last Friday, so they both know.
it is fair.
The door was open there.
So,
I just came in at,
Okay.
yeah, the back door.
yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Well, it is 7 o'clock, we should probably start, right? Yeah. Start. Roll call, please.
Here's Lorenzo,
Here.
Rebecca Anderson,
Yeah.
John Colville,
Here.
Anthony Gorski,
Here.
Joseph Keith,
Here.
Lawrence Brzezinski.
here,
Michael Renick.
Here.
Okay, welcome everyone. This is a meeting of the Planning Board of the Town of Lancaster. Please keep in mind, we are an advisory and recommending board, not a final decision-making body. The rules of the Planning Board allow us to recognize only petitioners of the various projects and their representatives. We ask that anyone wishing to make comment do so in writing. Board members now, if you wouldn't mind, reviewing the August 2nd meeting minutes. Any modifications? Hearing none, ask for a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Great. Next, we have our communications list. Any issues? Okay, we can move into our agenda then. Find my agenda. Oh, it's right there. The first case is the rezone and site plan review for 6218 Broadway. And just to let you know, the applicant has asked to be put on hold until further notice. so he has been put on hold. We're going to ask the legal department for any type of correspondence, official correspondence we have from them
Yep,
regarding
so
that.
that too.
Thank you. Next project, or next one, we'll move on to the amended site plan review for, where's it? 324 pavement. Perfect timing.
Good evening, Ken Zalch with the engineering firm GPI, here tonight on behalf of Anastasi Trucking and Paving. We're looking for two items tonight. First is site plan review and approval for a topsoil storage shelter at 324 Pavement Road. There's really not a whole lot to this project. This is the overall parcel that they have right now. The storage barn will be located up here in kind of the northeast corner. Here's a little bit more of detail for it. Really, the entire project consists of this structure, just some grading work around it. The drainage will go essentially off the roof into stone trench on either side. It's pretty basic. It's an open air type structure here that they're going to put up. It's primarily just so that they can store topsoil in there, keep it out of the rain, keep it dry, and keep it protected from the wind as well. You can see the structure that we've got there. Also have a top elevation. So that's the first item, is that site plan, and we would like to see, because this is under 4,000 square feet, it's really a 60 by 60 structure. It's under 4,000 square feet, so we're looking at it, and in our opinion, it would essentially not need a seeker review for this approval because it is a type 2 action. It's pretty straightforward, and this can be independent of our subsequent request, which will be a proposed minor subdivision of the property, where essentially Anastasi will be purchasing the first half of the site from the existing owner, which is listed as Heads Quarry. We used to at one time own all this property. They are looking at purchasing the frontage here, creating basically a 34-acre parcel. We understand, based on some correspondence from the building department, that there may be some additional work required in order to allow that to move forward. So if we need to do further work on that, preference would certainly be to separate it out, just so that they can look to move forward on the storage shed sooner rather than later, after having to go through a longer process. I really don't have too much else to say. It's pretty straightforward. Doesn't really require any infrastructure improvements per se. There's an existing easement that is going to be located from Pavement Road running through here to get to the back of the property, that access easement. We will be providing a copy of that documentation to the town of Lancaster. I've requested it from Anastasi. It's my understanding that it's been filed, so we will get a town copy of that so that they know access can be had through the existing, what's basically an existing haul road through there at this point. With that, can answer any questions the board may have.
So Anastasi's buying the eastern piece,
Yes, Anastasi would be buying the eastern parcel there.
and the back part is retained by the original? the
Correct.
Current owner,
Yes,
with just an easement to get back there?
as currently proposed, based in conversation with Matt, it may require some minor changes to the proposal to allow this parcel so that this would not be landlocked. We're open to that conversation, determining what exactly is needed at this point. Anastasi came into this pretty much with the discussion with the original owner that they'd be able to buy the frontage and go through the town for the minor subdivision process.
Does Anastasi own the piece on the other side of the road too?
Other side of Pavement, or, to be honest, I don't.
Does Anastasi own on the other side? Who owns on the other
No,
side?
we're not sure of that.
Oh,
Anastasia owns one lot on Paper Road. It's going to be the northwest corner from this property. I'm sorry, northeast corner from this property. It's a small square parcel.
So that piece that's on his drawing, you're saying?
That top corner piece.
That's correct.
That top corner?
Northeast corner. It's a separate parcel that's currently owned by Anastasia.
Any other questions from the board? Comments? Ed?
No, I mean, it's a small structure, drainage, it's already hard surface area anyway, so there's no drainage issues. That's the only issue there really was for the construction.
Emily, anything for the law department?
I believe we already coordinated this for seeker, so we need to come back anyways for a public hearing. So if we were coming back for the public hearing, come back to do the seeker the same night as that.
Right, yeah, I understand seeker is certainly required for any minor subdivision. The site, the building itself, though, and I guess it's at the town's discretion whether they're going to put them together or separate these two separate actions and determine if the building, because it's under 4,000 square feet, is a type 2 action, or if we combine them and hold seeker on both. You know, obviously, this is in an aggregates, gravel, sand area, without really any impact to neighbors or anything like that, given the location.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, either way, tonight we weren't going to approve anything on this because we need to have the site separated, split before we can approve plans for building on one
One of the
portion
parcels.
of what is
Right.
currently one
Right.
parcel.
So we need to do the public hearing for that first?
Yes.
The lot needs to be split before we can approve the site plan for what's going to be put on a portion of the
Gotcha.
split.
When would that hearing be? Do we know?
Well, that's something we were going to talk about with the applicant. We were looking at our calendars and with the notifications, and to be safe, we would like to schedule it October 4th, assuming that the applicant is okay with the date.
I mean, is there anything we can do to expedite this? The Anastasia was very interested in getting this up before winter, and October 4th would be, that's a month and a half away.
Yeah, we've got our 30-day, right? We're out there for 30 days now. Review.
Cindy, did you say it?
So you're saying that seeker and is coordinated, so we don't have to wait a 30-day period?
No, we need to wait the 30-day period.
We do, yeah, 30-day. So 30-day from
I don't have the exact date that it was.
August 15th.
August, okay, so August, so, let's see what this September.
So our second meeting in September will be the 20th.
Okay, so the 20th works.
So we can move it up a meeting.
Okay.
So we'd be able to get it on publication.
We just sped it up.
Okay.
So regardless, we
Appreciate
would need a public hearing to split this.
Right,
That would be the only way to
yeah,
expedite it.
I certainly understand the subdivision.
So we
is
might as well
a
go
longer
forward with
process.
seeker anyway, right? Because it'll be the same timeline, just to.
It'll all be approved the same night. It can all be
So,
approved.
yeah, there won't be any delay due to seeker at least.
Yeah. Okay.
Matt, anything new from you or anything different from you?
Just a series of events that happened yesterday with the milling the pavement road. It appears there's some other activities that are going on site, and I've communicated with Anastasia on use permits, separate from what the project is entailing. So hopefully you're back in the next couple of days, and we'll motor through that portion of it.
Okay. So you're good with the date of September 20th then? I mean, that's the best we can.
Sounds like that's what it's going to be, yeah.
I have a question. So they want to put up like a little concert hut, it's like a salt barn for storage of
Essentially.
stuff or something, but is this being generated on site or is it hauled in and out? I mean,
I suspect it'd be hauled because I can't imagine there's much topsoil
I
on
would
this
think so
property.
either. This was a sand quarry,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So-
To be honest, I haven't asked him that question, but I almost assume it would be a haul operation, given the
As a
existing nature of the
business?
property.
As a business, just bring it in and process it, or just?
Yes.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just confused on why we need a building. It's a former sand quarry, thus the ponds, and the reclamation plan for the mining, they had to do something with the topsoil and they stripped the site. So it's not being generated on site because that had to be put back. I
Yeah, the
mean,
mine's been
Mine
closed.
is closed.
yeah, the mine is closed.
Yeah.
But
There's material on site.
there's piles left? Okay, so is this to use that up, or is this just?
I'm sure it's to bring more in
It's
and
right-
Yeah, I can't
clean it,
imagine they're gonna.
aerate it and sell
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure with the, the site work that they do elsewhere throughout the area, that they're hauling off topsoil there and,
I'm not, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just wondering if it's a big business, like a lot of trucks per day, because the bike path is just below that, you're on that hump on the hill.
Yeah.
And it's really tough to get across the street on a bicycle, even though there's a crosswalk there, which may or may not still be there. I'm just wondering if there'd be a lot of trucks coming in and out a lot, or just occasional.
it's something that we can certainly discuss with them and find out.
What do you mean posted?
It's posted between Walden and Broadway.
Straight this right now. This is a discussion right now from the planning board and the applicant. There's no comment from the gallery unless it's done in writing. So
Yep.
I'd be mindful to just kind of hold off because those answers will come during discussion.
Right.
I will say this, to answer your question. Pavement Road is the major north and south corridor that has generated itself. There is traffic there, those crosswalks are not protected.
Right.
It's definitely the pedestrian's responsibility to look both ways. when they cross the
Absolutely.
road. This is a general industrial district meant for these uses as of right. And again, because of the activities in the last couple of days that have come about,
Right.
the use permit application has been sent to Anastasi and to incorporate pretty much all of the activities that are going to happen on
Right.
that property moving forward. So the use permits will be issued.
Good.
Do the bi-yearly on-site inspections for compliance, and should the business grow, we'll come back and we'll look at it again and let it grow and do what it needs to do.
I think it's a good idea. I'm not trying to say I don't like this. I just want to make sure that I understand what's going on, because there's never been a problem yet at that crossing. Sometimes people stop when there's people in the crosswalk, and sometimes they don't. But I just want to keep my eye out in case for some reason we need to request having a hawk light maybe put there, which is one of those lights that you push the button at a crosswalk and it flashes yellow for a little while and then it goes red. I just want to keep my eyes open. If it vastly increases, I know it's a busy road.
There may be restrictions with the installation of that walking path because it does cross 3 county roads.
It does.
And it terminates at another county road. So I think it was pretty specific about accessibility and whose responsibility is to yield and not yield.
Oh, I'm not saying that the bicycles and pedestrians shouldn't stop. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if it gets to the point where it's getting a little more than just scary crossing there, one option that the town could look into, because it's the town's bike path, is a hawk light. And they have a lot of those in Amherst and other places. And what it is where all the bike paths cross busy highways. The pedestrians and the bicyclists have to stop and wait, but there is a button. And then you can push the button, and then when traffic stops, then you go. And this crossing, I've seen, not me, but I've seen people just zoom right across there. And it's scary. So I was just wondering. So thank you.
No problem.
Any other comments from the board? Okay.
Okay.
At this point, I'm going to make a motion to set a public hearing for September 20th.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We'll see you back here on September 20th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Metzger, yours is the next project.
Carla, I make a motion to table the site plan review.
Pardon?
Motion to table the site plan review.
Oh,
Yeah, the second,
okay.
the third.
Mike, for 1 second, hold off, please. Make a motion to table the site plan review on that project, which is 324 Pavement Road.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Emily. Okay, Mike, we're ready.
Keep it.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
For the record, my name is Michael Metzger, with Metzger Civil Engineering, 8245 Sheridan Drive, Williamsville, New York, and with me tonight is my client, Mr. Tim Burden. We're back talking about preliminary plat approval. We had obtained sketch plan approval September of last year for this 10-lot subdivision on 75 acres. And actually, this board granted that approval or accepted the sketch plan. We submitted preliminary plat application in November of last year, and then this board back in December, on December 7th, tabled the matter pending resolution of questions and after obtaining comments under the 30-day seeker comment period. Subsequent to that, we did find that we had a potentially archaeologically sensitive site, so we had to hire a consultant. And we went out and did an archaeological survey for the property. While that was making its process, we also looked at the other items that came up from various comments within the 30-day seeker comment period. Since then, we have submitted information to address comments raised by the code enforcement officer. We do, in fact, have an archaeological sign-off from SHPO. Most recently, July 18th letter from SHPO signing off on archaeology. It did advise that we protect one site. There's a very small cemetery immediately adjacent to Peppermint Road. I call it a cemetery. It's more of a burial site, historic. And we just need to make sure that we don't infringe upon that. Very small. Looks like it might just be a couple of plots. But that's something we had already known about. Everybody knew about it. It was identified by SHPO, and they just asked us to make sure it remains preserved and is not disturbed, which by all means we will do. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, we looked at the federal wetlands, and there were a few areas identified, mostly along the corridor, which we are going to protect. We will preserve and not touch any jurisdictional wetlands with this project. Again, it's only 10 homes on 75 acres, and we're able to work around things. Town engineer had raised some questions. We've worked with him. We sat down, went through stormwater drainage, came to an understanding on how we were going to handle that to remain in compliance with the state stormwater regulations as well as the town guidelines. We feel we've provided that design in compliance and have submitted that, along with the stormwater pollution prevention plan, which comes along with the state stormwater regulations. There was a request to take a look at what might be required from the Erie County Health Department, and back in December we received an email which we have presented to the town from the Erie County Health Department, indicating that since we have only 3 lots that are less than 5 acres in size, it is not considered a realty subdivision in the eyes of New York State. Albeit a major subdivision for the town of Lancaster, it is not a subdivision per se in the eyes of New York State or the Health Department, so there's nothing more we need to do with that. At the time that lots are sold and homes are built, there will need to be a design put together for each and every one of the septic systems for those homes based upon the particular home that is being proposed. There's no indication of what that is. At this point, it's not required by the county or state, so that will be taken care of, and it was acknowledged by the Health Department. I believe we've answered everything. Any questions that have come up throughout the seeker review period, we've answered. We'd be looking for a recommendation from this board to the town board for preliminary plat approval based upon the accepted sketch plan, which this is in compliance with that accepted sketch plan. And then once the town board gets it, obviously they'll hold a public hearing and take their own action on it. So we will be looking for a recommendation on seeker and preliminary plat. And actually, given that this is, again, not a subdivision in the eyes of New York State, there is a final plat phase that's required within the town following preliminary plat. And normally what happens with a larger subdivision where we do have to get approval from the health department and other regulatory agencies, what happens after the town grants preliminary plat approval, we go out and we seek and obtain those approvals. With those approvals, we can then come back and ask for final plat approval. We do not have any of those approvals necessary. So with that, I would also ask if you would consider at the same time doing the preliminary plat recommendation that you recommend final plat approval, because there's nothing else that needs to be done between the two phases, or between those two steps. So that's kind of where we're at, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments from the board?
I do. You said that you were going to protect the cemetery, but you've shown me no indication of how you plan to do that. The recommendation was, wait a minute, I just lost it. A 5-meter buffer created, temporary fencing and a 5-meter buffer. I don't see anything on these plans that show me what you're doing.
The temporary fencing is something that would come up at the time of construction of the homes, and
Well, what about the buffer? I think the buffer should be permanent. I think it should be a permanent 5-meter buffer described in meets and bounds description, and that piece of property set aside.
Well, we can't segregate it out as a separate piece of property, but it would be property that would be on the lots.
Yeah, but it needs to be like an easement or something over it that keeps people from digging it up. Because there's nothing here that I see on the plans that you've got berms planned, and there's nothing that says they're not going to just digging up bones, Mike, digging up bones, you know? You don't know, and if you get into something that is disturbs that cemetery, you could be into a real archaeological dig. You don't know what you're going to find.
Well, we have submitted, at the request of the town, a list of covenants and deed restrictions that we would like to apply to the property. We, by all means, would be willing, I assume, willing to accept a condition of approval that adds such a covenant deed restriction to the properties that are affected by this.
It's got to be something. It's got to be in writing, and it's got to be, and I think there should be a permanent fence.
Should be what?
More of a permanent fencing, or you're talking about probably silt fence or something going around it during construction. I think it needs something a little more distinguished than that, like maybe split rail, something around it. That would I set it off, because when people come to buy these lots, they're not going to have a clue.
I would think that would be fine, but I don't know about 5 meters.
Well, it's got to be something.
Well, I would do the split rail, but the 5 meters might be, we'd have to look at the lot, because the lots are, I guess, 5 meters is...
It's pretty big, 15 feet on the side, you know, it's a little over 15 feet. per side. I mean, they're talking about all the way around, you know?
I'd be curious to see what they wrote up for that subdivision on Pleasant.
Pleasant View.
Well, there's this cemetery across the street too. It's,
Across the street from you.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't have anything either, but we
No,
want
but
our
it's-
side nicer, so. Agreed to the split rail and maybe not 5 meters, which is 20.
It's almost 20 feet.
Yeah.
A meter is 39 something another range. You're the engineer, you know that. It's about 39 inches. So that's like almost, like a little over 15 something feet and 16 feet. And, you know, that is a little large for a buffer. But if you can find where, you've got a little box here, you've got where the cemetery limits pretty much are, and put a split rail around it, and then do a covenant like you just suggested, then it's more clear, and I could live with that more than just saying you're gonna protect it during construction, because you don't have any control once the lots are sold.
Understood. Yeah, by all means, we'd be willing to accept a approval condition that adjusts and adds that deed covenant, as well as the construction of a split rail fence.
Completely around it.
I think wrought iron is more appropriate.
Well, I suggested split rail because it's country. Wrought iron would actually be wrought aluminum in these days.
Whatever.
Whatever, something appropriate.
The one thing we do have to be...
Who's gonna maintain that fence?
We do have to be, well, again, we could make that a part of the deed covenant, the property owners.
Property estimate.
The one thing we do need to be careful of, if you've been out there to see this, it probably extends into the right-of-way to some extent. So we should not be putting any fencing in the right-of-way. I'm assuming we would not be able to do that.
Three-sided,
Yeah.
Right. Matt, can we put a fence right up to the
I don't know
right-of-way?
where that is.
3 feet high,
Right.
just some kind of demarcation up to.
I think that's what they have on Pleasant
I
View.
just wanted to point out, though,
Right,
the
yeah, behind
5 meter barrier
The juniper.
is a protective barrier during construction.
During construction.
Right, so if we were to demark the physical area of that cemetery, I would imagine the boundary lines of that cemetery is going to be sufficient, as long as there's some kind of visual. But yeah, right up to the property line would be appropriate.
So we're talking two types of fence, right? One during construction and one after?
Well, the temporary barrier is going to
Okay,
be
instead of a fence.
16 foot 3 inches away from the boundary, right? That's the construction barrier.
Right.
The physical protection of the cemetery itself would be right on the boundary of the cemetery.
Right.
That makes sense.
It does. And I think your idea for wrought iron fence is much nicer.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, obviously, when Mike does his final grading, he's got to work to and maintain all those existing grades where the cemetery is.
That's already been taken care of. There's a grading plan as part of the package, and we did protect that area.
Ed, anything from your side?
No, I'll be honest, I haven't reviewed it all yet, but I know we've got to have a public hearing yet, and I don't even know if we've done secret yet on this. Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I know we've coordinated it. We've gotten comments.
Yeah.
I don't think we did secret.
But we don't need to do that before we do approve the preliminary plat, though, do we?
It's with preliminary plans when you do secret.
Oh,
And
okay.
you got to have a public hearing. Again, you can do them all at the same time.
Yeah.
Anything on your end?
I would just echo that we need to do. public
Ditto,
hearing
yeah.
and seeker.
Matt, I know you've got a couple things that you sent a letter out.
Nothing further than what was mentioned in the letter.
If we address those items?
Well, so we discussed the cemetery, the markings and the notation, buffers, covenants and easements will need to be amended. The draft version that has cemetery will have to be resubmitted to the attorney's office for their approval prior to filing. But I understand the realty subdivision discussion with the state and the county, but our local law requires the plat. I've had discussions with your county health department on similar instances where they are not required to sign off on a map cover with their formal stamp on it. And I know in the past, the county clerk's office would not file because Erie County Health Department did not sign off, but eventually did once the acknowledgement came from the health department that they're only going to permit these 3 and 1 every year after, however the realty subdivision law requires it. But the town law, local law requires a map.
Yeah, we have no problem with that. We will definitely file a map. And like you said, from time to time, you get somebody in the county clerk's office that doesn't quite understand things, and you have to sort of educate them on it.
And it's not, the intent here is not to force a realty subdivision approval. It's to file a map so that these covenants are distributed to all the tax parcels.
Right. And it also helps when it's time to transfer ownership, because then it can be based on a sublot number rather than a meets and bounds description. Yeah, we fully intend to file a map with the county clerk.
I had a question. You said the wetlands were, down by the creek, or?
Yes. Yeah. There's a, well.
Are they mapped? Is a court, did you have someone go out there and flag them and map them?
We had Earth Dimensions go out and do that, and we've actually submitted that. You've got it in the package.
Yeah, it's somewhere. I kind of got, I think I couldn't carry everything today. So you've got that. Usually when we have like a subdivision that has wetland boundaries in the back of houses, we have it monumented. And I'm just wondering if we need to do anything like that here, if there's some other way for you to identify those wetlands to the prospective owners as part of like
that would be a little,
like on the survey or something where it says, wetland area or something, because these are big 17 acres and large parcels.
right.
But once the property is sold, you have no control.
It's basically the stream corridor.
Is that?
Yeah.
Is it kind of collinear with the floodplain? Is it kind
No,
of?
no, not at all.
Not at all?
No, but it's varying sized, and it follows the stream bank. So it would be very cumbersome to try and monument.
I'm not asking
Thousands
you
of
to,
feet?
because
Okay.
they're far away. I'm
Yeah.
just saying we do when we have people whose backyard
Understood.
abuts a
Right.
parcel.
Right.
Or their
When the
backyard extends into.
When the wetland's 40 feet from the back of the house.
Exactly,
Yeah.
we would, but here it's like, So I'm just wondering, how do you make sure that the property owners know that there are restrictions on parts of the parcel? And there are floodplain limits that I'm not worried about as far as any building, of course, but also they need to be notified that there are portions of their property that are in the flood zone are going to go into water. So I'm just wondering, how do you include that verbiage somewhere?
Well, the thing is, again, this is a situation where once the lots are subdivided and sold, they have to come in and apply for a building permit.
Of course.
And in Matt's office, I'm assuming they look at all of those
Of
things.
course he does,
With
but,
not heat restrictions.
but-
No, floodplain.
For map covers that have associations filed to it, we as a courtesy to the HOA, request the HOA approvals, but I'm not going to go dig around for deed restrictions on
No.
fence or,
Right.
no,
encroachments in the wetlands or any of that. That's why we're asking for that covenant here to be in writing, refer to whatever map or whatever plan or whatever, physical boundary that was laid out on a specific date, so that when the parcels are created, each one of these covenants is a part of that parcel. So future owners or what have you, 25 years down the road, when we're all gone, we don't have encroachments that we're seeing right now.
Hey.
What I'm saying is that we have, look at, We've got developments in town right now that have these awesome covenants, they don't mean a thing, they don't say anything. So all these promised conservation easements, all these environmental protected areas, they're gone. They're mowed down, and there's no legal ramification
Right.
to restore them.
So adding any deed covenants is really kind of meaningless, but the thing that you do, I'm assuming, when somebody comes in for a building permit on a large lot, you look at the floodplain, right?
Absolutely.
The floodplain maps and anything else that, so there's your,
Well, I know
That's
that.
if they come in for a building permit.
If they come in for a
If they
building,
come in.
look at it, and I'm telling you, these developments that promise these protections, we're finding encroachments, we're getting complaints, we're doing the investigations, we look in the deeds, there's nothing to hang our heads on.
right. But building permit for a house, I hope you don't get too many people
No,
that are
we're not
building.
we're not gonna issue a building permit for a house, but, you mow down and you build in, 3/4 of the protected wetland areas.
Sure.
What do you do now?
That's between them and the Corps of Engineers, I guess,
Right,
right?
which throws it back on the municipality, you have to file a deed, and it's back and forth.
But the point
Trying to
is,
protect against that, it's for your clients, for future owners of these properties
Sure.
that we're trying to protect. We're trying to protect the investment that we're proposing.
so to your point, I think the protection is there, it sounds like, through Matt's office with the issuance of the building permit for the home. And I hope there aren't too many homes that aren't built without building permits, but, so the deed, any deed covenants that talks about a wetland that, quite frankly, is going to change 5 years from now when the jurisdictional determination expires is meaningless.
Yeah.
It's on a case-by-case basis. 20 years from now, that wetland is going to look totally different than it does today. And anything we say in a deed covenant today is meaningless.
Well, I understand that when they're near a stream corridor.
Right.
I understand.
Yeah, it's not the typical situation, as you pointed
Yeah,
out.
but, I mean, the creek could be in a whole different place,
Yeah, right.
It could move. You don't know, you don't know. So I just wonder what you do though, and
Well, even though it changes, I think it has to be noted on
it
the
needs to be
deed.
noted. That's right. And it's gotta be noted, gotta be identified that it exists and that, any mapping, may need to be redelineated on I don't know, occasional basis or pre-use if someone wanted to do something different. Let's say someone wanted to split something else off, then they have to do it again. We know that, but they don't know that. I mean, behind my house, they wanted to put in a subdivision and the guy messed up with the wetland and it got twice as big now. I mean, it's twice as big. So they only get bigger around here, even in a drought year, they still grow. So I'm just saying, I don't want Matt get stuck with someone comes in with something. I'm not saying it will here with all this acreage, but a lot of the times they come in and he dashes their hopes and dreams.
So we've talked about a lot of things and a lot of aspects about this. Are you proposing something here, or are you comfortable because of the proximity in this particular case?
I haven't looked at the wetland map with the parcels, but I think we're okay, unless there's some that are close. But, I was trying to look one.
The deeds reference the map cover.
Again, the floodplain, for the most part, follows the creek.
Yeah, I mean-
Because of the connection, it does include the pond. The pond is a part of the 100-year floodplain,
It does.
as Mr. Schiller pointed out to us.
Do your deeds, will the deeds reference the map cover?
I'm not an attorney. Emily?
I just asked you, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do. I don't know if there's will.
You should. You should.
And where I was going with that is that if they reference the map cover, and on the map cover we show the approximate limits of wetland and floodplain, then there's a tie in the east. That's the reference.
I'm just fearful you're opening yourself up for some future problems if you try to show a wetland that is going to look different 5 years from now on a map cover that's going to be there forever. That's the scary part.
Well, I mean, I was going as far as saying approximate limit. to just say, hey, it's there, and, you know, you can't, Mr. Homeowner, you can't come in here and say, we didn't know. Well, yeah, we said there was something back there. It may move.
We could do that. I mean, I don't see a problem with showing
Try to
approximate
think that way, at least
location.
you got some tie.
Somewhere there should be a note that says, wetland and floodplain boundaries need to be redelineated before any permits are required. I mean, after the, I mean, that would need to be redelineated now for the initial building permits, because we already know where they are.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, that's why I'm thinking if the deed references the map cover,
Yeah,
and the map cover shows approximate limits,
Yep, yep.
there's a tie there forever, whoever owns the property.
The one thing I do suggest is we don't get too carried away with it. I hate to have the town put themselves in a position of trying to become the authority over something, and if somebody doesn't follow something you put in place today, later, that, you know, that this is the Corps of Engineers and the DEC.
I don't think we're looking for that. We're looking to just make sure that the buyers, the homeowners
Yeah.
are aware that
Yeah.
Potential.
there's something on the back of their property that they can't really do anything with.
Sure. We could certainly do that by adding the approximate locations on the submap, if that's what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, yeah. Mike, just so you know, I think this was the quarry pond that at one time, we had a guy who wanted to divert Ellicott Creek into the pond as a flood protection measure. And at that time, my former partner at work, the hydraulic engineer, did a quick and dirty calculation, and he said Ellicott Creek floods for 4 days, and the pond fills up in about 15 minutes.
Drop in the bucket.
You drop in the bucket, so, you know, I'm just saying that was a real quick and dirty, real rough calculation. He said it could be less than 15 minutes, but or it may be a lot more, but it does fill up, and it fills up to whatever the level of the creek is. Am I correct?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
that's correct.
Yeah. And that creek gets pretty high and then it stays high. So it floods with a peak that is long gone before Tonawanda comes up.
Right.
So it's kind of flashy.
Nice thing is the house locations are well above those elevations.
Yeah. But when I say no, it's going to fill. And I don't know what your lowest floor elevations are compared to the ground level and the pond elevations, but I can envision this all the way up. Pretty full.
So Matt, Mr. Metzger is looking for a recommendation from this board. Your letter states that the easements and restrictions shall be reviewed and approved prior to any recommendation of the board.
For final plat, for final filing, covenant should be in draft form at this point. And I'm hoping the town attorney has reviewed them. We're going to make some amendments to them. So before our board approves anything, those drafts should be in place. Those drafts should be ready and completed and pretty much solidified. You can make your recommendation with that condition on it, but it just shouldn't get approved until all of those parameters are met.
Right, right.
The same thing, when we're talking about filing these map covers, those covenants are going to be directly tied to that map. So all that work together.
So you're talking about prior to the town board doing a final plat.
They're preliminary.
What's that?
Before the board approves the preliminary, they should have all this stuff dialed in. When you go from preliminary to final plat, your intent is to file, split the parcels up, and do whatever improvements necessary to make the lots marketable.
Sure.
All the work is happening at the preliminary plat stage, filing, solidifying, and authorizing this was this land. So at the preliminary level, that's what you need to get your other approvals.
So are you ready to provide those for the town to review in draft form?
Well, we already have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, we'd be willing to accept the condition that we just take care of that one little one as it relates to,
The cemetery?
yeah, the cemetery. That's a simple modification.
Well, if everything else has been filed and that's our thought at this point, I mean, that's where we were, right? That's what we wanted.
But you still have to set a public hearing.
Pardon?
You can't approve it to the end of the public hearing anyway.
We have to have a public hearing.
Yeah.
We can't
Oh,
approve
so the,
public.
I'm sorry, the planning board holds a public hearing is in
Some-
addition to the town board holding a public hearing?
Subdivisions are here. Public hearings are here for subdivision hearings. Rezones are at the town board.
Okay. Even though the town board has final approval authority. So the town board does not hold a public hearing for either preliminary plat or final plat?
Code says they should have one for final.
Ah, okay. Planning board holds one for preliminary plat, town board for final plat. Gotcha.
So we would need to schedule
A
before we
public-
not make a motion to do anything, right?
Yeah. And they said we haven't done, and we haven't done, we haven't done seeker.
Yeah.
Coordination's done.
Would you do seeker before holding the public hearing or after the public hearing?
Same.
Same
Same night.
Same night,
Probably do
yeah.
the hearing first, and do the thing, go through the seeker form.
Sometimes people bring things up that are like, really? So, public hearings, I don't think we do.
Well, I just misunderstood. I thought Ed was suggesting doing seeker before scheduling the public hearing.
Oh.
No.
Same time.
So we look for a motion then to
To-
schedule a public hearing, schedule a public hearing. And that would be September 20th. I'm assuming that works with you and your client?
Pardon?
I'm assuming that date works for you?
Absolutely. We'll make it work.
Okay.
And we'll do seeker that day as well. We have enough time, right? I don't know what day it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's already been coordinated.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
All comments have come in and been addressed for seeker.
And and technically, if all the covenant changes are done and
Yeah.
reviewed, you could get preliminary approval then. If everything's-
Right.
If everything's in.
And
Right.
we won't be able to do preliminary and final because.
You could do
town-
preliminary that night.
Right, but he was requesting that we do preliminary and final
Oh.
because there's no step in between, but the town board has to have, so there is a step in between, even though there's no step in between.
The town board has to approve the preliminary.
Gotcha.
I suggested that when I thought the town board held
Yeah.
the public hearing.
We both learned today.
No, Lancaster always does things a little bit different.
So we have a motion to hold a public hearing by John. Second by Tony. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. We will see you on September 20th.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then I'm going to make a motion that we set a public hearing for 5767 and 5775 Genesee Street. Anybody care to second?
Second.
Larry? I didn't hear you. September, that one's for September 6th. Okay. Okay, I make the motion. Larry, will you second that?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you for that as well.
What address was it?
Thank you.
What address was it?
5760, yeah. Pardon? Notifications. Yes. It's a 10-day notification. Yes. Good night.
Night.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Ed, anything from you?
No. No.
Emily?
No.
Matt? No?
Oh, I just request to be excused for the September 20th meeting. I'll be out of town. So you guys better do a good job of that seeker. I won't be here.
We'll try our hardest.
bring a big red pen,
You just
shake it.
keep in mind that there are issues. And sometimes when you're going through stuff and the question comes up of, you know, I don't know, I can't think of anything particular, but if you're, well, like the Tim Hortons, you know, we've mitigated traffic best we could, and we've documented that, the one out on Broadway and Bowen. And you gotta get that in the minutes, and it's gotta be in the final written document. It's gotta be in the findings statements. So, find something, you gotta make sure it's written up. Can't just be left in your notes.
Okay.
So, that's the only thing.
One last time, anybody got anything else? At this point, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Kind of a unanimous
Opposed?
second.
Motion adjourned.
Don't need to see no, the board authorizing.
That's right up. You can't see it
Yeah.
from the road because of the.
All right, see you guys.
I forgot how many,
When Alfred Creek had flooded.
who you gonna invite, or don't you invite?
I was gonna reach out to you guys and say, because of the